You're watching Strictly Security. Thank you for staying with us. Turkey and Greece held rival naval exercises off the Greek island of Crete this week amid rising tensions over claims to gas and oil in the Eastern Mediterranean. So to make sense of this story, I'd like to welcome Dr. Selçuk Çolakoğlu of the Turkish Center for Asian Pacific Studies, who joins us from Ankara, and George Pelaghieas of the European Rim Policy and Investment Council in Cyprus. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining me. We'll start with Ankara. We've heard President Erdogan saying he's not going to back off. Is it true, or Turkey is open for negotiations?
Now the Turkish government has a tactic to raise the military standoff or the stake first with Greece in Eastern Mediterranean, and also he wants to get more proper and more good negotiation position for that. Of course, now there are war of words between two sides, but we need to be more careful about more standoff for between two countries, because everyone knows that this is a very dangerous game. So then there will be very negative repercussions if there are some unexpected accidents on the sea or on the air. But of course, it is true. Turkish side, particularly the Turkish government, is insistent to put more pressure on the Greek side to enforce its position. But we will see in coming days how will be the outcome.
And how long Turkish government is willing to go to push this forward?
It is not clear, but then look at the past experiences in the 80s and 90s. I think the room is very limited for that because Turkey and Greece tried to enforce their positions in the Aegean Sea, maritime issues and others in the 90s and 80s. And at the last moment, NATO countries, basically the United States, made a mediation and also end the escalation. And this is not very desired position for two countries and NATO, basically, because Turkey and Greece had a very good mood of political dialogue and cooperation between 1999 to 2010. Of course, the problems were there, but they didn't create a political rift or military escalation because of those problems. The picture is going that way. So yes, even there is an escalation, there will be a settlement soon.
George, how much concerned is the Cypriot government?
Very concerned, I must say. I believe all countries in the region is obviously following this very closely, and these are, as was previously mentioned, these tensions have been brewing for quite a few decades now, and we can only hope that cooler heads will prevail.
It's only about gas resources, or there is a bigger thing into it?
Gas is definitely part of it, in the sense that the position of Turkey as a future natural gas transit hub with the establishment of the Trans-Anatolian pipeline obviously is an important factor in this, and the potential threat that an independent gas-producing region to the south, including Cyprus, Egypt, and Israel, could threaten that position has always been in the background. But I think that now, perhaps, that with the recent gas discoveries in the Black Sea by Turkey, perhaps that will change. At the same time, the tensions that we're seeing also in the Eastern Mediterranean is not only due to the hydrocarbons discoveries. These tensions would probably exist even though they weren't going to, even if hydrocarbons hadn't been discovered. So there's a lot of underlying factor that contributes to the situation that we're finding ourselves in now.
Yes, and one more question, George. What does the Cypriot government expect now to happen? They want international pressure, countries to intervene. What do they expect?
I expect that the Cypriot government will continue its current course that it has kept through, even with its own tensions with Turkey, is to utilize its channels within the European Union and the international community, as well as with its partners in the region.
So, Selçuk, back to you in Ankara. What does the Turkish government expect now to happen? I mean, we see quite a line of countries standing, confronting Erdogan. We see France, we hear Germany, obviously Israel and Greece and Cyprus that we've heard. What does Erdogan expect to get now out of it?
Actually, the Turkish government now is wanting to get more higher position for the negotiations to enforce to other side. And also there is now ongoing mediation by Germany. So possibly the United States will take on the ground if there is further escalation on the sea.
Last word from you, George, in Cyprus. How do you look at Israel in that situation?
Well, I think Israel, similar to Cyprus, have a lot to be concerned about. Obviously, Israel, as well as the Republic of Cyprus, would want to have better relationship with Turkey, but I believe that lies completely in the court of Erdogan. And personally, I do not think that it lies in his interest to have better relationship with countries in the region.
Yes. George in Cyprus and Selçuk in Ankara, thank you very much, both gentlemen, for joining me. Moving on, the Kremlin accused German doctors of being too hasty after announcing that tests suggest Alexei Navalny was likely poisoned. The Russian opposition leader, who fell ill and collapsed last week, was transferred from a hospital in the Siberian city of Omsk to Germany for treatment as world leaders call for Russia to do a detailed and transparent investigation. Katie Pulverman brings us the latest.
Alexei Navalny remains in an induced coma as doctors piece together what caused the outspoken Kremlin critic to collapse during a flight last week. Doctors treating him in Germany say he suffers from an unidentified toxin from the group of cholinesterase inhibitors. The Kremlin releasing a statement dismissing accusations that Russian President Vladimir Putin sanctioned the poisoning of his longtime foe. While Navalny remains in serious condition, Germany calls on Russia to investigate the suspected attack and hold the perpetrators accountable.
The suspicion is not that Mr. Navalny seriously poisoned himself, but that someone seriously poisoned Mr. Navalny, which unfortunately there are some examples of in recent Russian history. So the world takes this suspicion very seriously.
In contradiction to the diagnosis made by German doctors, Russian health officials say that Navalny had tested negative for such toxins while he was previously hospitalized in Omsk.
We got a final answer from the two laboratories in Tomsk and in Moscow saying that no chemical toxic agents that could be identified as poisons or products of poison's activity have been found. If we had found some kind of poison that was somehow confirmed, then it would have been a lot easier for us. It would have been clear diagnosis, a clear condition, and a well-known course of treatment.
Some cholinesterase inhibitors are found in pesticides and chemical nerve agents, including sarin, VX, and Novichok, which was used in the 2018 high-profile attack on ex-Russian spy Sergei Skripal in the UK. VX is the chemical believed to have been used in the assassination of Kim Jong-un's half-brother in 2017 at an airport in Malaysia. Navalny is a powerful force for Russia's opposition, and this wouldn't be the first time he has been the victim of a suspected poisoning. For now, doctors say that there is no acute danger to his life, but long-term damage remains to be seen.
And with me now is Dr. Ze'ev Hanin, Professor of Political Science at the University of Ariel. Thank you very much for joining me. So let's talk about the history of political assassinations in Russia, and it's quite a history.
Well, in principle, political assassination is in every country, including the Western one, is a part of their history. In principle, there is like a general idea. In the recent times in the post-Soviet states, they used this tool, the different political forces, in order to reach their goals. But concerning the Navalny story, at the moment, it's not pretty clear whether it was the intent of assassination. In case of yes, who was interested in that?
If you can share with me some, details from the history prior to the Navalny case.
Well, in principle, I don't think that it should go back very deep into the history, either of Russia or any other states of the post-Soviet space or Eastern Europe or maybe Western countries, in order to try to explain what is going on in this situation. Theoretically, we can say that it might be an interest of one of the towers of Kremlin in order to remove a Russian opposition leader, which is accepted as an opposition leader both in Russia and overseas, if we will take into account what is going on in Belarus, for instance. In Belarus, there is a political uprising, a peaceful uprising of the population, who had every chance to remove their current leader, Mr. Lukashenko, but they don't have a consensus for political leader, like an opposition leader who can focus all the political forces in order to remove the current government and to exchange it with a new one. Navalny is accepted as a person like that. If you will take, for instance, recent opinion polls of the Levada Center, we will see that if in November of 2017, the rating of the current president, Mr. Vladimir Putin, was about 60%, at the moment it is about 23%. On the other hand, overwhelming majority of those who were interviewed believe that in spite of all that, there is no exchange for Vladimir Putin, because there is no somebody of the caliber who will be able to lead the country. So maybe there are people who believe that the less candidates will be in Russia, who will be able to be accepted as the consensus opposition leader. The better it will be for the government. But they don't believe that the current regime will be interested in this social assassination, especially concerning the attempt to reconcile relations with the United States. All the steps of this kind are actually against of their current interest. But maybe there are other interests in the political, I would say, in the political landscape of Russia, including the ruling elite.
Professor Ze'ev Hanin, political science expert from the Ariel University. Thank you very much, sir, for joining me this evening. Thank you. And that's all the time we've got for you this week. Hope you've enjoyed, and hope to see you again next week for yet another edition of Strictly Security. Until then, have a safe and pleasant evening from all of us here in the Jaffa port. Bye-bye.